Morning, everybody. It's special session, Mayor City Council meeting, 10 a.m. Wednesday, July 30th, 2025, City Hall Complex, Council Chambers. Would you please call this meeting to order? Would you please rise for pledge of allegiance? Mr. Estes, to his honor.
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. No call to the public. We move on to item number 4, discussion presentation. Michael Vasquez, Managing Director, Wildan Finance Services. Mr. Kramer.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I'd like to, Michael, if you come up, we're going to discuss on different issues today. I'm going to kind of stand because I'm going to be part of this as well. But we certainly want to bring forward to council. We've talked about some of this. We certainly did a study session during our budget talks. And I was asked to, let's look into this further. Certainly with WIFA, we discussed it somewhat on that, but we certainly want Michael's perspective because we've had conversations even with the state WIFA people. We just had a conversation a couple days ago. So I'm sure Michael will bring that forward as well. We have Kevin on the line as well to talk about obviously the rate study that I brought up forward. Certainly it's again another important discussion topic. We'll move on to the GATA loan. Michael and I will do that together. McKinstry drew up some nice pictures of the engineer did. Certainly the perspectives of what we're looking at in that end of the energy, street lights, and our systems. And then we'll get into a topic that a few of the council members we had discussed before on the septic dumping. So with that, again, it's a study session. Certainly every topic we've kind of breached into it. So it's not anything really new, but certainly I wanted the opinions of the professionals to give us more insight on where we're at and where we need to go with the city of Nogales. So thank you, Mayor, for bringing this on, and council members certainly for bringing this on. Hopefully we can keep it under 2 hours. That's our goal. So we'll see again, because we don't have lunch. We didn't buy lunch, so we're all good. But certainly I know that these gentlemen are right to the point, and we'll try to get to that. Thank you, directors. Thank you, audience, for attending. Certainly I invited some of the directors, our key components of these areas as well. So it is a study session. So the Robert's rules are more of, yes, we can discuss and we can certainly talk if you need to ask questions, certainly with the directors and or myself. So thank you, Mayor, for bringing this forward. Council, thank you again. Michael, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Kramer. Good morning, Mayor and council members. Good morning, staff and audience. I hope you're all doing well. It's a pleasure to be here again. Thank you for having me. Now for not such a pleasant conversation. WIFA. I'll give you a little backdrop. I started working for the city as your financial advisor, municipal advisor in approximately 2015. Thank you. At about that time, the city was completing its water and wastewater rate study. Skip ahead 5 years to 2020, and in early 2020, the city issued its water and wastewater loans through WIFA, approximately 15 million. 10 million for water, 5 million for wastewater. As of today, that 15 million has been fully expended or close to. And at this moment, the city has, for all of the projects that were listed on the 2020 loan, has completed all engineering and design studies. With the exception of one project, no projects have been completed. Can you say that again? With the exception of one project on all your loans, no other projects have been completed. Out of the 15 million, 10 for water, 5 for wastewater, all plans have been completed. I don't have that in front of me. Okay, so we'll set that aside for the moment. The city has also been working on a updated water and wastewater rate study, but in order to complete that and make it accurate and useful for the city, we had to contemplate the existing loan and decide what does the city want to do with that, even if there's an option, and I'll get to that. But by that, I mean, let's say the city just has had enough, doesn't want to increase its water or wastewater rates. Can they just leave that loan and pay for $15 million worth of, studies and plans and engineering? So we'll get there in a second. Then, while Mr. Barcenas was still here, I had asked him, okay, so in addition to giving me a list of what it's going to cost to complete those projects from the 2020 loan, I would also like to know what other water and wastewater projects do you foresee over the next 10 years? Because even if you were to go complete the 2020 projects and you had that money, in the interim, your infrastructure is not getting better, right? It's getting worse with time. So I asked for that list as well. Here we are with the numbers. To complete the 2020 projects, the city would have to borrow, and these are numbers from staff.
Michael, do you have something we can follow or can start to take notes on that?
I don't, and that was kind of intentional.
Listen carefully.
Yes, ma'am, and slow me down at any time. That was kind of intentional because a lot of numbers kind of went around over the last few months, and I didn't want to put something in front of you that we didn't have 100% confidence in. So I'm speaking ballparks, and that's enough to get you through the conversation today to at least start thinking about it. Yes, ma'am. So to complete the 2020 projects, the city would need an additional $30.4 million for water, an additional 7.5 for wastewater. That's a total of $38 million. I'll repeat, 30.4 for water and 7.5 for wastewater. So just to be clear, what that means is you have $15 million that you're already paying debt service on, and that got you one project and a whole bunch of plans and, engineering and all of those things. To complete those same projects, the city would have to borrow an additional $38 million.
To finish off the 32.
The
four
15
we're
million,
done.
yeah, the 15 million.
We're done, so, okay. Jeez.
So that's a large number. That's a very large number, especially council has been very sensitive to raising rates, both on the water and wastewater side over the years. So in thinking about this and having a dialogue with Mr. Kramer, it was kind of like, well, how do we explain this to council? How do we, what's the best way to do this? And we decided that we were going to run a kind of like a bookend analysis, and that's where Mr. Burnett is going to come in. But what we wanted to show the council is, okay, what happens if you do nothing? You pay that $15 million off, and the plans stay in whatever file cabinet they stay in. What does that look like for your rates? Then the next one in the middle of the analysis is, well, what does it look like if the city borrows that additional $38 million to complete the 2020 projects?
Mr. Vasquez, excuse me.
Yes, sir.
On our rates, have you seen that up to the year, we made $1.2 million in the year?
I have not
We
seen.
have 1.8, Gene, in profits on water, on sewer. And then we have minus 499 on water. And then we have 100,000 or 99 in sanitation. That gives us a plus 1.2, 1.3 actually,
Okay.
for the year.
Okay. I have not seen that, but that makes sense.
So we're not going back, we're going forward.
Hopefully, yes, sir.
I just want to bring it up.
Okay. And then the final bookend analysis is what happens if the city completes its 2020 projects, meaning it borrows an additional 38 million. And it also understands that the rest of the city's infrastructure, both water and wastewater, continues to degrade, just a natural thing. Per staff, they would have to borrow an additional $37 million. That's 22 on the water side, and that's 14.5 on the wastewater side. And that's kind of your wish list, your dream list that, okay, we really want to take care of this water and wastewater system. So not only do we complete the 2020 projects, but over the next 10 years, we issue the remaining 36 to trying to get and get your water system and wastewater system into shape so it doesn't continue to degrade. So those are the basic numbers. Any questions thus far?
Yeah, going back with those projects that are shelved or the studies, if they drop the ball so badly in those studies, can this council look at those projects again? Because, we need to see the value and importance of them before we make any decisions.
Yes, sir.
Are you going to bring that out right now, or?
No, sir, I'm not. We should, because we have not had a chance to talk about that among staff. We're working on a pretty high level, but I would absolutely recommend that. And to the degree you want me involved, I'm happy to be involved. That's it? Really?
Continue, I said. Or that's it from you?
I was waiting for the bullets to start coming this way.
I'm waiting for you.
Okay, so that's the situation. Those are the three analyses that we're going to present, that Mr. Burnett's going to present. Okay, again, bookend analysis. City does nothing. You pay that $15 million off over the next 15 years, and you're done with it. And the city's infrastructure is what it is. Then there's the middle ground where you borrow $38 million to complete the 2020 projects, and then the last one. Yes, sir.
We're not going to fall in the same hole. It was wrong to do 32 projects. We wasted $1.7 million just in doing the engineering on all 32 projects. Those projects were no way going to be completed within the time frame that we got the money. Why go 32? Why not pick three projects, 4 projects, and take it step by step, and look for grants? There's obviously grants out there. There's other support. Why would we want to fix the world in one bite? We can't do that. Go ahead.
Mayor, I suggest that, I understand where you're coming from, but I suggest we let Mr. Vasquez do his presentation. I'm the one that has complained more about this WIFA issue. I'm the one who raised the question a few years ago with all these 32 projects with the 14 million. I objected, actually. I had my doubts that we were going to be able to finish those 32 projects. But with that said, I am tired of the history of the city of Nogales. Has been always, we start projects, and for some reason we either run out of money, or for whatever reason our directors were unable to do their job diligently, so those projects fall to the wayside. So now we're at the point with water and infrastructure. Now we got to pay the piper. We need to complete these 32 projects. So let's let Mr. Vasquez finish, and then we'll input our true sense. I think everyone has a different, but I think we should allow Mr. Vasquez to do his presentation, and then we'll see what's up. Because if anyone here is mad about this whole issue, is me. I raised the question many times. Why? And so now we're at this point where only 4 projects were done. And Mayor Maldonado, Councilwoman Montiel, Councilwoman Melendez, you were here when we went back and forth with this whole WIFA project, and we've hit snags from asking these directors, do we have enough to complete the payment for the WIFA projects? They said yes. And then what happens the next meeting? They come back and ask us for money. One of the last times we had to use our final $500,000 to complete from ARPA funds. So I personally think that we should let Mr. Vasquez, and this is going to be stuff that we don't like hearing today. But it's, again, it is because it was done poorly. It was by, Mr. Mayor, I am with you. These 32 projects, it was never gonna come to fruition because there was never enough money. How did they came to 32 projects and the 14.7 million and really say, I'm not an engineer, and I knew that I had my doubts. You just pointed out what I've been saying is that we spend all this engineering money, some projects to get these 80ADQ project permits. So we did we paid, this is where, Mr. Doyle, you were asking me the other day, where's the sin? Where's it that we went wrong? Well, we paid for engineering for all these projects, and they're not going to be done. That's where I think that's the biggest failure, that knowing full well that we were not going to have enough money to finish these projects, they went ahead and paid the engineering. That's what's mind-boggling. None of us here are engineers. None of us are. But you know what? You know who we are? We're the ones who have to look at our constituents and tell them and explain to them how did that money how did we throw that money away? That's what's bad. And to look at our constituents and say, well, you know what, we're not gonna fix your street, we're not gonna fix the infrastructure where you live. It's also kind of hard. It's a hard pill to swallow. So Mayor, I suggest that we listen to Mr. Vasquez, and it might be stuff that we don't like. I mean, I'm not liking any what I'm hearing right now, but
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Vasquez.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So let me talk about a couple of things. First off, you borrowed money during when COVID hit. Okay, so COVID doesn't explain all of this, but it is a factor. And there were a couple of years there where nobody knew what was going on. It was hard to pin things down construction-wise. So just to be fair, there was a lot of crazy things, global things going on, and that's part of the reason that, costs increased. But it doesn't account for the full 5 years and us being in this position now. The next thing, yes, 32 projects is a lot. $15 million is a lot for the city of Nogales, and I just want to put this out there. In the event you were to consider borrowing again, I would, and I'm stepping outside of my lane here, but I would probably suggest that the city hire somebody dedicated to manage those projects that has specific experience related to doing that, so that in the event you do go borrow millions again, that you're not in this place.
And that's where we're stepping in, council, where we're getting outside engineers to oversee this. Granted, we're doing one in-house with one on Edward Street to do the engineering for that, and he's almost about 3/4 done, and then we'll get somebody outside. But to take Michael's point, we are not going to do in-house anymore. And I've brought the power back to you as council, giving you guys the information as you see what we're doing. It's certainly important too that the fact, excuse me, that we met with the state WIFA people. We wanted to make sure we had Michael obviously knows more about this because he's in that area, but my question to the state was, well, Mr. Mayor, you brought up what our accounts are at. Well, our accounts should probably be 4 times that amount. It should be a good savings account. And if you go to buy a car with very little money in your savings account, are you going to get good rates? Are they going to give you that loan? That was my question, correct? And I even asked the state. I said, we have very little in our water enterprise fund. Do you think we can borrow $24 million for the unfunded? Well, what do you think the answer would be? I mean, it's a basic loan principle, bank principle. You don't have the money to back it up. Yeah. So with that said, I wanted to make sure that this goes in hand to what, and this is bigger than, as I said in the beginning, this is a future of Nogales, and I'm going to continue saying that. This is going to go, and Michael, you brought it up. We've got pipes that are 80 years old. Edward Street is 100. That Edward Street, by the way, we are working on that. That's 100 years old. And we've got 80-year-old pipes downtown. And we need to do and we even talked about this, we need to do a complete infrastructure study with engineers outside of it to tell us exactly what we have in place. Because Noe that has been brought on board, he'll tell you and he's got maps. We don't really have a lot of maps of the systems and where shutoff valves are. A lot of things are not in place that we need to, certainly, on this whole infrastructure, what we're talking about. I just want to give you guys an update of where I'm looking at this, because it is the future of Nogales, truly. Because they're not getting any younger. Those pipes and those 80-year-old pipes are probably from here on down, if we know the city of Nogales, right? No, Nogalitos, that pipe was donated by the Cananea company, by the way, the mining company. So with that said, it's everywhere, and we need to start really, really focusing on this. And it's not about what we're trying to punish the taxpayer or anything to that effect. It's their infrastructure. They would expect it. I know that a lot of you are obviously supporting it, and certainly it's important. But I wanted to bring that up because I did want to meet with the state people. I wanted to hear it from them directly, because they will determine if we do want to go out for WIFA loans. But right now, we probably wouldn't be able to borrow that money because we don't even have enough money even to support our savings. And we're in one or two, I don't know, one of you said it too, we're 1 or 2 events away from really serious situations. So again, I'm just putting that in because that was a conversation we had with WIFA, because I didn't want to leave that out, that I did meet and we did do that Teams meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Craig.
Go ahead, Mr. Go.
I guess I have a question for our city manager. Considering that most of these things have passed in the last few years, so I imagine a lot of the directors here were involved in those projects. And are we going to get a full report on who dropped the ball where? I mean, it's after all, there's got to be some accountability, because, we can't afford in other words, even for you, Mr. Kramer, you need to know who in the past hasn't done their due diligence within Public Works and people that were responsible. Of course, you can bring out those factors, and probably the council back then should have put on the brakes once COVID set in. I mean, that itself calls for, wait, let's take a look. But when I'm saying let's not repeat history here with making errors, and I would like to feel confident that you're on top of each department, starting from engineering through project manager. That we need more professionalism out of our directors, and above all, more honesty in the relationship they have with you. That if they see a problem developing, they're not sure, they should right away bring it to your attention. You need to bring it to our attention, so that we, like like I said, sometimes we need to put the brake on things, and we're the ones that have to pull the brakes once you let us know. But I think we need to run a tighter ship overall, and by doing so, I think we can work out of this. And there's a medium here. It's not just let's put the bill on the taxpayers. We've already put enough burdens on the taxpayers, but we need to find a medium, not just dump the whole load on them. But please enlighten us and continue, Mr. Vasquez.
I'll just interject. Certainly, Mr. Doyle, I agree with you. I'm not going to name names right now because that's not the place to do that. But certainly I'll say this, and I'll go back to it again. Anything over 100,000 is coming to you. Any projects are coming to you. And any projects are going to be outsourced with qualified people that will do the job correctly. For instance, I just sent you an update of what happened with the sewer line break, and you saw the report and how detailed it was and everything to that effect. And probably they're going above and beyond the fact that they're going to fix that area as well, which the city pays taxes to keep that wash better than what it was, but they're actually going to do that. I sent an email just recently. You probably didn't get it this morning, some of you, but I just sent it, an update of what they're going to do. So I am doing that, and I'm certainly going to keep putting the pressure on directors that anything over 100,000, any projects are coming to you, so you know. There's going to be a presentation next week, starting with our next project, and that presentation will be from the company. They're going to give a month to month, just like the company that came to us in the beginning with what we're doing with the rehab of our new administration building. We're going to get updates, and you're certainly going to get an update for the next one. So, Mr. Doyle, any companies, any projects, you're going to get an update at council meetings.
Along those lines, I would like an update on the responsibility of the railroad on the ownership they have of that wash, because it's within their rail system. I believe it's 100, they own 100 feet either way, pretty much.
I am actually in contacts, and I know the mayor said he's been chatting with him, and I will bring you, we're going to the League of Cities, correct? We're supposed to have a meeting there, and you certainly are welcome to come to that meeting as well.
Thank you very much.
Because I've been in contact with them, and I'm trying to make sure that they keep that area as well, clean and updated, and certainly for the infrastructure. So certainly that would behoove us to certainly meet with them, and anybody else, up to 3, can certainly attend that meeting with me when we have it up there.
Okay, thank you.
All right?
Mr. Kramer, this is probably for another day, but for the last 4 years, I've sat here, and I remember our attorney mentioned this when we hired you. And one of my concerns, because accountability has been raised, is that we can't tie performance to accountability if there's no evaluations. And you know that, and I know that. And when you make someone accountable, you need to make sure that there is an instrument tied to that. It makes people more responsible, accountable. And that's what's not happening here, because we change every 2 years. There are city managers that change and so forth. But what doesn't change, and it's constant, is the directors, because what happens sometimes is that, you know, we want to make people accountable, like the constituents makes us accountable. But what happens is that when things like this happen with the WIFA situation, is that we can't tie the performance or who's responsible for, misspending. I don't know if that's too harsh of a word, legal, but obviously projects were not done. And there's no accountability. So it's almost like, who pays for this is the taxpayer. And we ultimately are going to pay for it, because when we want to go get another loan, it's going to be difficult, because, they're going to check to see what happened, right? Of course, they're not going to loan us money when they see this type of thing happened with the WIFA project. So that's one thing. And also for the last few years, if some of you recall, I've been adamantly asking for an infrastructure strategy action plan. You know that, Mr. Kramer, that we have to know where we're going. But if we have nothing in writing, the last plan that was done in terms of a strategic infrastructure plan and a city plan was back in 2020. It hasn't been renewed. We haven't sat down and talked about where we want to go in terms of, planning strategically. So we're almost like, we got to have something that's fair for the directors, it's fair for us, it's fair for the employees to know that we're all working together, and we know where we're going and what needs to be improved, and there's to be timelines and accountability and who does what. And when we have something in place like that, then we can tie this, accountability factor that plays into, like, why aren't these projects done? Why weren't they ever done? And legal knows that, when we make people accountable, we have to tie something to it, something that is, that is tangible, So we got to move now forward. What do we do with this situation that we are looking at? And, this is a lot of money. So I wanted to bring those two issues up, and I know that there's a lot on your plate, and I realize that, and you and I have had conversations about action plans and about accountability, and I know you're working on it, but I thought that it's good for the public to see that we're trying to put all those factors together, tie them all together. Thank you.
Certainly, it's a good insight to that. Certainly, the evaluations and reviews will be utilized. I am certainly utilizing letters of direction, some more of a other direction, 10 days, whatever. There's disciplinary going on as well. I'm not going to say, but what there is. Certainly you guys have seen some changes. I think we'll go on that. I think that it's important to hold, yes, all of our managers and directors under their divisions, their departments are certainly tasked to be doing this. I think the plan of study with Mr. Garcia, we've already chatted a few times, is certainly is important because he is our Public Works Director that we're talking about right now with this departments. He's overseeing those departments. Obviously, we're making changes to our water department that certainly I'll bring forward to you guys because again, there's going to be some purchases made. There are situations in the city that we are going to remedy quickly. We're trying to work on that in the water department, certainly with security type situations. We are working on that. We already moved the meter readers into the finance department. So everything that we're moving forward, that certainly is good. Yes, I should be sharing. We are going to be sharing in October. We'll probably have another study session regarding the infrastructure because obviously in September, we're going to be doing another study session. So I'm trying to get these monthly study sessions, but that is certainly very good for bringing that up because you foreshadowed, because it is important for Noe, who is our interim director, to bring forward what his plans are, what our plans are for some of these remedies. It's certainly important for water, for sewer, for anything to that effect of what we're doing regarding the city of Nogales. And yes, the taxpayers, we certainly want to take them into account as well. So it is important that knowing that he just started a month ago has done a lot of legwork out there. So I will be bringing forward everything that I need to be. If I have to do it in a different setting, we will do that because there's probably some information that I'll need to share with you discreetly. So we'll do that as well. But certainly, Councilwoman Montiel, I hear you, and it's certainly a good direction of what we're trying to do. And I'm not trying to throw words out here right now because, you know, I'm not the wordy guy. Hopefully I'm a man of action, and hopefully they're going to do that as well. Because, again, words could be just thrown out there, but it's what we're seeing out there that's happening and what are our constituents seeing. So that's the direction I'm trying to answer your question to say that we are going in that direction. That's why I was taking those notes because I was listening. So I know I wasn't giving my like this, but I do take notes. And certainly to all of you, including each and every one of you, again, come in and see me because there are things there that we are doing. Mr. Garcia brought a whole map, and he's got it with him right now, of water lines that we don't sometimes have the maps for. So we are working on all this. This goes into certainly what we're talking about because it's important. There's a lot of aspects to this. But the more I can share with you, the more you come into my office, I can share that to you. Please do. Because there's a lot of information that we're not going to cover it here, but I certainly can cover with you in my office. And please do, because it's open. Unless it's closed and I'm talking, but certainly it's important that you guys come in and see this because there are things I'm not going to share or can't share right now because sometimes there's discretion too. So I just want to bring that out because I know Mr. Doyle, you said it, and Saul, and Mayor, Lisa, whoever's all, and I know the three of you, Anna, Hector, and Esther, I know you're just as involved in this as well. But I wanted to bring that out because it is important. So thank you for bringing those up.
So we go back to presentation. Go back.
Mayor Maldonado, you brought up grants. You may recall that we met a couple years back at Star Pass for the League of Cities, and we had discussed some of the then recent grants that were let out through the Fed, the IIJ and the IRA grants. And I was expressing to the city that, you know, it might be a good time to look at the infrastructure, water, wastewater, and whatever else, and see if there's some opportunity to take advantage of those grants with perhaps some loans, right? Because nothing's ever free. You weren't going to get 100% free money, but maybe it was 50-50. We talked about that. And from that meeting, I had asked for some projects from Public Works, and that kind of didn't go anywhere. In just our recent conversation with WIFA at pretty much the highest level, as I understand it, the grants have pretty much dried up. Is there a possibility of maybe $1 million, $2 million, 3, 4, something like that? Maybe. Is that really going to take a big hit out of that number? No, it's not. So I still think that there may be some opportunities, and hey, $1 million is $1 million. We'll take it all day long. But I wouldn't expect to see anything significant. I think the majority of those monies are gone.
And I'll just piggyback on that, Mayor, that you guys did approve that position, and we are moving in that direction, especially in the way we're going to redo finance. And with the person that we're bringing in, does have that background with working in those departments, because I know it's important, obviously, because it's a huge amount that we're looking at. So that's why I'm focusing on that in the finance direction. And yes, whatever grants we can get, if there's more, so be it. But we are going to, it is very important to see what we can do with it. We can get this 40 million. And that's why I kind of redid what I'm doing with the finance department, with Gene overseeing the billing in that area as well. So I'm just piggybacking. We're trying to go back and forth because it is a discussion, but I'm trying to fill in what we're doing in that area as well.
And one last thing, I've said it in one way, but I'm going to say it in another. I wasn't sure that WIFA was going to even allow you to just stick with the 15 million. I wasn't sure, like if you go borrow money for a house and you only put half of it up, usually the bank makes you go borrow the rest so they can protect their asset, their collateral. So I wasn't sure how they were going to handle that, but as I understand it, as Mr. Kramer understand it, it looks like they will let you use that 15 million for mostly engineering studies, and there might be an amortization adjustment. Maybe it's a little shorter, but the short of the story is it looks like if the city wanted to do nothing, that might be a possibility, or is likely a possibility from WIFA.
Which is good news.
I have a question, Michael. From what I remember from WIFA, we didn't have to pay back, or I think part of that loan was going to be forgiven, right? I think 1 point or 2 million of the. So how exactly does that work?
That's a great question, because when we were talking about, what our options were with WIFA, they were talking about how they were going to handle that. And it looks like, as I understand it, it looks like it still can be forgivable, meaning you won't have to pay that back. That's the way I understood it.
Exactly. As long as, and the conversation that we're having right now, I try to be very brief of what we're doing and what we're trying to do and what we're doing with the rate study and everything to that effect. The changes that we have made going in that direction, certainly with Public Works and everything, they respected that, and they said at least we're moving in that a positive direction. So certainly we'll answer your question, Mr. Bonilla, that we're still on go for everything that was agreed upon.
One last thing, and then I'm going to pass it over to Mr. Burnett. The city's ability to afford new WIFA loans. Okay, so as Mr. Kramer said, savings account wise, you can't pay from there. You don't have that kind of money. And let me back up a bit. As you know, the vast majority of the city's bonds are secured by excise taxes. Okay, so in this particular potentially new water and wastewater loans, where that would be paid from is your water and wastewater rates. But and I'm going to be very careful about this word, you can't afford it right now with your current rates. You can afford it if the constituents pay more in rates.
Of course, they pay for it.
So I just want to be very careful about that word afford. Okay, I think that I'm done here for now, unless you have any questions.
I just have a quick comment on raising the water rates. There's a saying that we are paying for our sins from our past forefathers or past generations. This whole issue, Michael, should have been addressed maybe back in 2015, 2016, when there was a water rate done and was agreed to raise the rates maybe a 1.8, 1.9. And there certainly has been a couple of administrations that have gone by, and for some reason or other, they decide not to raise the rates. And in talking to Mr. Kramer, what would have been the scenario had we raised it at maybe a 1.8, 1.9, or 2.0 every year, where people really wouldn't have not felt it? I mean, But now we're in dire straits. We're in a pickle now. And as Councilwoman Montiel says, yes, at the end of the day, our constituents have to pay for it. But now they're going to feel the full brunt of that increase, because for some reason in the past, whether they say that raising the water is an election killer, and it might be, but at least in my view is, if I'm going to worry me winning the next election, not raising the water rates, and then having this type of conversation, putting this administration and future administrations in this predicament, is really irresponsible. And I think that unfortunately, we're going to have to make hard decisions. We're at that point. I've been raising this concern for the past 2-3 years, but now we're here. And so now, as I've said it, Councilwoman said, the buck stops here with us. And it is unfortunate that we have to make these decisions today. It's a hard one. It's not a popular one, but if we don't do it, then also our citizens are gonna feel it, because infrastructure is going to fail, and that's the bottom line. It might not be too popular with our constituents. It's not popular. I don't want to do it. I'm sure none of the council members really want to do it, but we're going to have to take that big step. And it is unfortunately that we're in this predicament because of past decisions of not wanting to taking care of this. The whole WIFA, it's just the cherry on top, just to compound our issues here in the city of Nogales. It is unfortunate, Michael.
Mr. Doyle?
Having heard that, I can't ignore the fact that even if we would have raised the rates 10 years ago, that extra money that would have been there apparently would have been misspent the way those $15 million were, because there's no accountability on that. So it's best that we're here now so that we can make those proper adjustments now that we have somebody that's overseen the misspending or misappropriation or whatever happened to that money. We only lost so much with the plans and engineering designs and everything else. What happened to all the rest that they didn't act on? It was, again, they just dropped the ball. And if they would have had 30 million, we would have lost it also, because we didn't have the right people taking care of city resources or taxpayers' money. And that's why I wanted to go back and find out. History repeats itself. Of course, we have but I believe the city manager should know all that, and we should know what really happened in that time before we continue to go forward in increasing rates. We have to know where the financial leaks are, not just the leaks on our streets of the infrastructure of water, but more importantly, where are the leaks in our finances? And that's what we're trying to find out. Get all the facts in, get all the information before we can make those decisions where we're going to put burden our citizens. But I know that we need to raise to a certain degree, but we need to get all the information to know exactly. Because what is the threshold? Has WIFA made any recommendations of saying how much we should increase? Who has made any recommendations of how much we should increase?
Basis to know, what we're looking at or what the rate study is. So the rate study is really going to, help you determine, what you want to do.
Right. So we're going to be taking all those factors,
Yes.
and put them in place for our future decisions, I guess.
Yes, sir. And Mayor and Council, I typically have numbers for you when I make presentations, but again, this one's a little sensitive because I don't have 100% comfort with these numbers. So I didn't want to put it in front of you until Mr. Kramer and I can kind of have more comfort with where this is.
I just have a quick comment, Mayor and Council. Set aside WIFA for a second. Had we, I use the word we, I wasn't here in 2015 or 2016, but had we raised the rate at a comfortable rate, I would say 1.8 or 2.0, we probably would have had conservatively a $2 or $3 million nest egg, and we would not be having this conversation today. This is something food for thought, but because for some reason it was not implemented or whatever reasons they might have had, and I don't want to go back. It's too late. It's why cry over spilled milk now. It fell on us now, and unfortunately, we're going to have to make these hard decisions.
And it's, Mr. Vasquez, that we can't change time. We can't change what happened. We can't change, the money, we got it. Supposedly, the cost was going to be the cost. Obviously, that's another factor. The cost went from $2 to $20, of materials and everything. The inflation and everything hit us, so, and that's what I want to try to avoid, borrowing money for projects that we know we won't do, because, we got to be careful on the costs. We got to be careful, the price we put right now, especially with all these tariffs and everything coming about in the country, we got to walk like I said, one step at a time. We can't think we're going to do the other 17 projects overnight, or, so that's my concern. I think we got to look, let's hear the presentation. Then we got to look at the projects that are out there. We got to make decisions as, hey, this and this and this has priority, and go little by little. I don't think it's necessity to jump in the lake, in the middle of the lake right now with no lifeguard around. So let's do the project, or let's do the presentation and then follow through. Thank you.
Allow me this simple analogy, and then I'll turn it over to Mr. Burnett. So let's say you have a house and you have a roof and you have a roof leak. It starts to leak. You let it go. The water then starts to come through insulation, then drywall. Then you see, now you have drywall and insulation repair. Then it continues, then it gets into the electrical. Now you have mold. So what was once a $200 to $500 roof repair, now you got to go repair that same roof leak. You've got to repair the insulation, the sheetrock, the electrical. You got to worry about mold. You got to repaint. And that's, I guess, what I'm trying to convey to you about infrastructure is that it decays.
I understand that point. It ain't going to get any younger. I understand that point, but it's not one house. We have, 20 neighborhoods we got to fix. That's my point. It's not just one house. So we got to look at the projects and all that, and then go from there.
And I think the biggest issue, as Mayor Maldonado pointed out, is not only one house or two houses, it's many houses. But I think the bigger issue is, not only do we have that, but we have this that was not completed. So that is what is compounding everything. Once again, we have what's we have to fix now, in the future, and what was not fixed in the past 4 or 5 years. And that is really what is compounding everything. That is really what the decisions that we're going to have to make is, where do we start? I don't remember which meeting it was. I think I gave direction to Mr. Kramer for him to figure out how we were going to pay for the projects that were not finished with the WIFA loans, because there's a lot of them. So we can't ignore that and move forward. We got to finish this first and then move forward. Moving forward and ignoring the projects that weren't finished, it's not going to fix anything. The problem's not going to go away. If anything, it's going to get compounded, because, as Mr. Kramer pointed out, let's go to Elm Street too. My grandparents lived there for many years. That's one of the oldest streets in Nogales. West, and some of these streets, they're very old. And I know for a fact that we have not done anything. We did Noon Street for a couple of years ago. And that was that. I think those pipes were also like 70 or 80 years old. So when do we decide what is urgent, what is not urgent? Everything is urgent now because everything got compounded because we borrowed the 15 million, and I would say that nothing was done. What we borrowed and what we got back, in reality, I don't think we got our money's worth. And I'm sorry if it ruffles some people's feathers, but when you do 4 projects with those $15 million, and I remember we went back and forth. We had angry people here complaining about their infrastructure. And now we have 15 million that we have to pay back in 20 years or something like that.
Mr. Bonilla, let's finish.
This,
Let's finish,
all right.
please.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we can't get any
let's go.
blood out of this.
Let's go.
Right?
Continue.
I mean, I
Continue,
can't
Mr.
change the past. I'll just say this though, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank our esteemed attorney here for setting up the meeting. He did get us linked to Chelsea McGuire, who is the director for WIFA. So thank you, Joe, for setting that up because Michael and I were able to have that conversation. That's a positive. I just wanted to bring that up to our attorney for helping us out on that. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Burnett, you're up.
Yes. Can I share it on that screen?
Mr. Burnett, excuse me. Is there any way you could email these numbers to us and we could print them? And we're really not seeing the numbers. They're very far and we can't really see them.
Kevin, would you send those to Gene? And we'll go print them.
Thank you.
Kevin, what 3 sheets do we need? What are the tabs? Okay, or are you just gonna PDF them and send them? It's up to you, whatever.
This one's going too.
So revenue sufficiency, dashboard, status quo, and what's the third one? Okay, got it.
Kevin, we'll take a 3-minute break then.
Yeah, we'll take a 3-5 minute break, Kevin, and while they make those copies, please. Council, you could use 5 minutes for a break, please. Go ahead, Mr. Burnett. Now we have your copy, so you can continue.
This is the scenario I was referring to. Order to 1.2 transfers coverage next year. We need 113% increase in order to meet coverage. That would be increased in the average funds in the growth. Utility bill for average single family home in Rio Rico, utilities right next door. They're currently at $66.37 today. So with that increase, you would be on par. The years that we have the WIFA proceeds coming, it's a positive cash flow. In the subsequent years, as we're spending down those WIFA proceeds, taking care of it.
So where has our profit that we just mentioned right now from finance of 1.2 going to? We have 1.8, Gene? No, 1.3 after you do water and sanitation, we end up with 1.3. Where is that fund going to?
So that's.
Please.
Mr. Burnett, I'm going to kind of jump in here real quick, okay? So when we have those profits, you have to remember that over the past couple of years, we have really reduced our spending in all three of our accounts. We have cut capital, we have cut our overall operational expenses. And in fact, in water, this year we moved people out of water so they could try to stay afloat. What we're trying to do with what Kevin is doing is there's capital that we need to purchase. So that money, like for sewer, the excess money that we have brought in over expenses for sewer goes into their savings account. But that's for sewer. So we have to remember that even though all three of them are enterprise funds, they're all run separately. So the sewer money stays with sewer. It doesn't cover water and it doesn't cover sanitation. So sewer, which right now kind of seems like it's very healthy, but one broken sewer line, two broken sewer lines, it's gone. We don't have our carry forward. We don't have our savings account. Right now, water and sanitation, they don't have much of a savings account at all. And water has nothing because we've cut as much as we possibly can from our water account. And that's our big issue right now.
We got to look at sewers already. We just took out 130.
So why do we continue to see a plus of 1.8 on sewer?
Well, especially with the sewer, as things just got done, you're going to start to see that lower. But we did not spend all of the budgets for fiscal year 25 that we had budgeted. So not spending things at the end, cutting it seems like it's higher. But again, that rolls over into our carry forward into our savings account for this coming year. But if we have to start purchasing capital or we have a leak, we lose it. We're gonna have to
We remember, we did bare bones budget. I tried to keep that from getting down to zero. There were areas there in sewer that we needed to we could look at getting by one more year. But right now we cut out a lot of capital items from that. So that, Mr. Mayor, you would have seen that low too, if we would have done the expenditures.
Gene, we have that, we have to pay back, I think he just said, Mr. Kramer said, the sinkhole we had on Hohokam last year.
We actually did pay that back.
You
Yep.
paid that back already?
Yep.
Okay.
That was the very first thing I did on July 1st with the new budget, was pay back the general fund for the water emergency that we had last year. So that has now been taken care of.
Continue, Mr. Burnett. is there timeline? Is there, obviously this is a bomb hitting on our desk right now. Is there timeline? Is there a strategy that we could work on so we could, kind of digest this and try to look at finding the best solution for our community? Obviously, you compare us to Rio Rico. We do not have the same income base Rio Rico and Nogales. Rio Rico has a higher income base than Nogales, and our residents, we have more of a, what do you call it, a fixed income here in the city. So, something I think we all got to look into. Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, you're correct, but the infrastructure in Rio Rico is in a lot better condition, and it's newer than the infrastructure in the city of Nogales. So we're in dire need of replacing a lot of the water lines and sewer lines in the community.
I understand that, and that's why we're looking. We got all the projects. We looked, but we can't fix them overnight. That's my point. How do we address it? I think the council's got to look at a plan with talking with the engineers and the directors on what is the need base. Obviously this is something inherited, from our community. Yes, Rio Rico has newer lines, newer facilities and everything. 90, probably 70, 80% of it is septic on sewer. But I think it's something that we got to look into. How do we digest it? And I don't think digging into the 17 projects that are left, and knowing that we're not going to fix 17 projects in 1 year or in 2 years, how do we, I think we got to stage it out. That's my thinking, that we got to stage it out and, don't try to eat like I said earlier, the whole pie in one bite, and stage it out and see what's with recommendations from our directors that see this, live this, what's priority, and make a plan. That's my suggestion.
Mayor, it's a hard pill to swallow seeing these numbers. But I do believe that if Mr. Kramer and Mr. Vasquez and other people really put their heads together, we can find a way to finish off these WIFA projects within the next couple of years. Because we can't really move forward, I would say, if we don't finish these projects. And so it comes to, Mayor, how many times have we seen in our budget that we have projects that weren't finished for some reason, and then we have like carryover money in our budget, and it seems like at this point everything is snowballing with our water infrastructure and sewer. So from what I understood, the gentleman that's given us these numbers, we would have to implement this 113%. Are you saying that we have to decide what percentage we stretch it out during the 10 years, or what is your recommendation? So we would start out, I guess, at 113% and then we would spread out over 5 or 10 years, the rate increase. Is that the way it's going to work? I don't know, Mayor and Council, how we go about this and looking at our constituents.
This is a study session,
Going
so
to
it's
this, I know.
no action.
There's no action taken, but it's still,
But it's something,
yeah.
we gotta look into and talk about it. Go ahead, Ms. Montiel.
Well, there's a lot to say, and I just don't know how to put it in a nutshell. I mean, I knew it was coming. I know some of you on the council have been supportive of raising the rates to cover some of the lack of vision and lack of planning and lack of doing what people are supposed to be doing. So where's Michael? So Michael, I'm not the expert, but you sure are. And thank you. So I'm taking all these little notes. I'm going to go home and sit down, and that's why we have study sessions. This is the first time I see these documents. It's a lot, yeah. So there's 38 million in my notes here. Is that 38 million is needed so that we can complete the projects that were not completed.
Yes, closer to
Okay.
mid-30s.
Mid-30s. Okay. So 15 million was spent, but only 4 projects were completed.
Correct.
Okay. So we are asking the taxpayers to increase their utility bill by 113%. So right now I text my husband, I said, what was our bill in June? And of course I bothered him, and he said, I'm busy. And I said, you need to do it now. So it's $97.49 for the month of June, which is, a busy month because, water the plants and so forth. So it would be increased by 113. So you're saying that 97, let's say, for example, my bill today is 97, like he said, and 49 cents. So you're telling me that it would be doubled, tripled,
Doubled, right?
doubled.
Right, Kevin?
Who's the math person? A little more than double. That's what we're looking at. So the poor lady that lives on Social Security every month of fixed income, wait, Saulo, that person, just a minute, okay? My husband and I can afford that. But we are a community that I think if you look at the statistics, a family of 4 is probably at 34,000, 35. It's all, you can look online from the census the last time around there, okay? So I'm always thinking, and that's what I'm thinking about. It's not us people that can afford it, right? It's not that, the increase is nothing for my husband and I. It's a lot. It's 2 of us living in a home. But I try to put myself in their shoes, the people that have fixed incomes, like Mayor Maldonado says, I think we need to think about that. And that's why we have study sessions, to think about those things. There's no doubt, we're not arguing at all, nobody is, that our infrastructure needs to be fixed. But for the last few years, there's no plan in place. So we're just kind of spending millions literally of dollars, and there's no accountability. How can we explain that to the public? I'm sure the newspaper will write a story about it. So you're asking us today that you did your due diligence and you did your study and all of that stuff, and the numbers are there, and that's what a good person does and intellectual person does, so that we can, really do our best in making a decision for the public here of the city of Nogales. And you're saying that we have to increase it in order to fix our infrastructure. And you laid it all out, and some of us won't even be here by the time all this is completed. but we'll still be paying the bill for it. You know, we're going to get all these increases. And I'm just, you know, it kind of pulls on my heartstrings, if you will, that we have to make a decision so critical. And no one's arguing that our infrastructure needs to be fixed. I'm not arguing that. I understand that it needs to be fixed. I understand. I live on a road that I go out, and that's a new road that we all paid for it, El Cielo. But it's always, you know, the water's always leaking because it was poorly done by the city of Nogales. That's the truth. So we're having to fix it every month or so. Joel knows. Always call, the residents are always calling, and that's a new road. Can you imagine the roads that have been 100 years and over? But this is maybe a lesson for all the public officials that, you know, we're making our public residents, our citizens pay for some time for the lack of vision, the lack of planning and so forth. And we're not here to blame, we're over it. We gotta get over it. But hopefully Mr. Kramer will set something in place where it's in writing and it's tied to accountability and results, because that's all the residents are asking is, you know, I'm sure they're good people. They want the roads to be fixed. They want, you know, our roads and to look like, you know, up north, but we're paying for it. We're paying for it. So my other question, Mr. Kramer, is, since these projects were not done, is there any, like, are we just going to move forward and say these projects were only 4 were completed and 38 million now is needed to be borrowed on the backs of the residents? Are you going to come up with something in writing to us about how we can justify raising our rates due to the lack of vision and responsibility here at the city? I guess I just, you know, it's just a rhetorical question. I guess
I'll be real quick, Mr. Kramer. I just really quickly wanted to say again that this analysis, so you said, you know, you had asked me here to, you know, help you get through this and help you on it. And so I'm not asking anything, right? These are just bookends. And it's meant to just really show you, hey, if you do nothing, you're way over here, and if you do something, you're way over here. And the reality is you're probably going to be somewhere in between. But that's really the point of this analysis. And I understand that there is so much information to take in and to really try and do something with and say, how can we make this better? I 100% appreciate that. But
because if you recall, one more comment, Mayor, if you recall a few months ago, or maybe it was 2 months ago, you and I had a conversation and you were very upset, not that you were unprofessional, but you were very concerned, maybe that's a better word, and say, your WIFA, I need to make a presentation to the council about the status of your WIFA projects. And that, I came to talk to Mr. Kramer about that, and he had a huge concern too. And so I know that these are bookends, like you say, this is data information for us to go back and look at it and study it and so forth. But I appreciate you being transparent. I appreciate you giving us data so we can make informed decisions. But it still pulls on my heartstrings that we're in this situation right now.
Yes, ma'am.
That we have to, you know, we don't have to. It's going to be up to us to vote on this issue. But I would like to go back, Mr. Kramer, and talk to some residents. I'm going to see how they feel about this, have some of their input. And I know that this is a study session, so I think that I plan to do some of that dialoguing with the residents and see how they feel about it. Because I just, you know, I'm here again, I'm going in circles, but I'm very concerned by what you have just given us. I appreciate the information, but it's concerning.
I guess I'll put it this way. I can't fix none of us. You know, we're trying again about what do we do to the past, the people that were in charge, the people that were decision makers, the lack of information that was provided at times to council, not at your doing, but at past people in those positions, the decision makers that were hiring different companies, the decision makers that were hiring the architects and not providing council with all the relevant information. Again, I'm trying to say that I'm not doing that anymore. I hope you understand that for any decision makers, like on the end of this agenda, we are moving in that direction because there's oversight by council. We want to make sure we're following procurement. We want to make sure we're cleaning up a lot of this. I don't have the answer for that, Ms. Montiel. I can't say, here's the glory, here's the plan, we can do this. We know that we have just what we have right here. And what Michael is bringing up, that's what's there. I have engineers that actually, I didn't invite them, Franklin Energy said they would come down and do a study for those. I'm going to take advantage of it if they offer it to us for free. But then, you know, sometimes when they bring out more information, we're probably going to see this as double. I'll say this, the few residents that I happened to walk into the few streets, Mr. Calvillo, David was with me in a couple of places, and what they said is, if it means we have to spend more to get this, you know what, blankety blank fixed, then so be it. And we understand what's going on, and we understand that nothing was ever been done.
Mayor, and just before I forget, so those people are being held accountable? That's all I'm asking.
I know.
Without any names or, are they being held accountable? Because we're holding our community accountable for raising their rates. So are you holding these people accountable? And like, they're going to hold us accountable. They're going to hold the mayor accountable when he runs again. They're going to hold us accountable, and we got to make everybody accountable for what just happened.
I'm just presenting, I'm just trying to present the information. I don't want to sway a decision. I'm not a decision maker. I'm not the elected official that you 7 have to make that decision. I'm just trying to provide, as Michael and Kevin and myself are trying to provide the information. I'm playing catch up on this too, because I'm trying to get caught up on all the WIFA stuff that I know about it now, of course. I presented it to you guys 2 months ago. I'm just trying to present that information. I'm trying to give you all the facts so your decisions are easier, and I understand the constituents, you should see what they have to say. But I know this, and I'll say it again. We're not the only ones. We're not the only city in this state of Arizona that is struggling. We're not the only city in Arizona that has the same situation presented to council. There are hard decisions to be made, and I understand, because it is, like Mr. Mayor said, it is their pocketbooks, their fixed incomes. And I know we have the 30% discounted for those that qualify, which maybe more people should take advantage of, because it is in our systems. We can do that. Again, I'm not trying, I understand you completely, but I just want to make sure that, and I've always been this, I want to make sure all the facts are out there, all the information. We're not hiding anything. I'm not trying to cover anything. We're bringing it out. You're certainly not hiding anything. We're bringing it out to everyone so they know what we're trying to do and why we're doing it.
Mayor,
So,
and I understand that you're trying to fix a problem, and I appreciate it a lot. I've been in your shoes in some way, and I know that there's it's a huge undertaking in your part. But if I can ask you, because it is a study session, if I can ask you in the future, if you could please tell me where those monies went. If you can tell me where those $15 million were spent, either in a, I don't know, spreadsheet. You're good at working on spreadsheets. You just follow the money, as the saying says. You go back to your budget, and you go back and you follow the money where those millions of dollars went, and where they were supposed to go, and where they went. That's how a lot of issues are solved, right? You follow the money, as the saying goes. That's what I'm asking for the upcoming meeting. Thank you.
well, I'll just say this, and Mr. Doyle's been presented this question in different terms. I can't answer that right now here, but I certainly can answer it in a future meeting in a discretionary way, because there's things that are going on that I'm not going to bring out, but I am looking into that.
That's all. And I don't need an explanation. I just want to make sure that before we make a decision, that we need to understand where the money went. And I think it's fair for the public to know that. Thank you.
I have a question or comment. Councilwoman Montiel is worried about, that lady on a fixed income. This is going to have a trickling effect with people. I'll give an example that rent apartments. The rents are going to go up too. In reality, it's going to it's going to affect our economy because water's going to go up in restaurants. It's going to go up everywhere. So eventually it's going to trickle down. And so it's very hard right now, Mr. Kramer, I was hoping that would be maybe a 60% or at most. And I was thinking the 30% discount that's out there. But this is the 113% is I have to admit that I don't think anyone here in the dais has any ideas I don't know how we're going to approach this. It's going to be something real hard that we're going to have to look at. And we've been asking for accountability with the WIFA loans also, how that money was spent. I was not aware that that mayor and council and even the city manager had to get reports on every time they had a project going, and that was never forwarded to us. And I think that just compounded the whole problem with the WIFA loan. We didn't know how the money was spent or when projects were started or finished. It's a big blurry line. So yeah, Mr. Kramer, I think that when you present us on the next meeting, I think it's just going to be salt on the wound, on a big wound that's hit the city. But we're going to have to go into it.
Mr. Doyle?
I'm hoping, but I can't see how, that Mr. Burnett and Mr. Vasquez have all the information to make this study. But how much is it costing the city for the study rate of the rate increase?
I don't know.
We've been doing this now for about 2 years. It's in total. When we started with Will Dan. So I want to say it was approximately right around 25,000 total.
Does that sound about right, Kevin?
This agreement was signed by your previous administration.
And the reason I ask is because, how are future events going to be factored into this rate study, considering that I don't think an audit has been done yet on all these offices like water and finance and all the different departments where hopefully we can make some adjustments that are going to be positive for the city. And if those factors out there have a question mark of how much is being lost annually, not necessarily infrastructure, water leaks in the streets, but leaks within the system. Because it's unfair that sometimes councilmen have to bring before the city manager or the council things that we spot out there when we have crews and we have staff and we have hundreds of employees that could see the problems that exist, yet nobody does anything about it. Like I remember, I think it was last year that I brought to the attention that there were some hookups of a rich businessman that has different warehouses, produce houses, that we were losing over $250,000 that weren't reported into the system. He wasn't paying for the hookups, and he didn't pay the monthly fees on industrial sewer lines. And I don't know how they took care of it eventually, but how much of that goes on that we are not aware of unless we have a real audit that shows and that we have our city crews and people. I mean, if a business opens up or they build a new warehouse and there's no connection fee, isn't that like a big red flag? Right, sure, anybody should. Our public works director should be the first one, our project manager, our planning and zoning director, any one of those should say, wait, what's going on here? Finance should right away say, wait, we got a report that this is over there, and yet there's no fees. There was And sometimes those buildings didn't even have any plans to build, no permit, they just put them up. I mean, that's the kind of problems that we need to address and look at, and how much money are we losing? And now we have to put those expenses on our citizens' back, especially like Mrs. Montiel was saying, the poor people that can't afford an extra $50 a month. And yet we have the people that are affluent and have money, make more money on the backs of the poor people because they're getting the breaks and nobody's enforcing the rules. That's what we need to keep track of so that it can be a fair system, and that way we'll be able to give you all the information for your rate increase because, like I said, that's only a few businesses that we're losing hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, if we looked at the whole system and plugged up those leaks, how many millions a year can we save? And that has to be thrown into the rate study. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
No, nothing, Mayor.
Okay.
I do have some comment. I'll talk over Mr. Kramer, Mr. Vasquez at a better time.
And Mr. Burnett, do you have something else to continue? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burnett. And that's a drop in the bucket compared to what we lose out there from the financial leaks that we need to plug up. Thank you.
Just real quickly, so I would like to add that that this rate study was just a preliminary. We wanted to get something in front of council so we could have this discussion, but certainly this study can be adapted. You know, the more discussions you have, the more you move things around. So this is a living animal, this study. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It certainly was, again, I'm not going to throw so many words out there. However, it is to bring forward again, I can't clean up the past transgressions, only the transgressions that I'm going to try to fix. And again, I'll go back to you that trust me when I say I'm looking into this, and I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. We do have trust in that things are improving. No offense to your actions, Mr. Kramer. We are glad that you're on top of things, but I know that something like what I mentioned, it takes an audit to bring out that type of information. But again, I'm glad that you're on top of the crews so that they can keep their eyes peeled on anything that's out of the ordinary, that's not being reported, that revenue should be coming into the city and it's not. Those are the things that we also need to make to amend those type of scenarios that we can't afford to lose money that should be paid into the city coffers by people that are doing business and they're making money. Thank you.
Thank you. I just figured I'd come over and stand by you just so be closer. So you could just talk to me gently. No, it's a transition because I'm also part of this next presentation, and certainly Michael's been part of this.
Joe, Mr. Vice Mayor had a comment.
Sorry, Mr.
Just a final comment. And you know, I appreciate the concerns of Councilwoman Montiel and Mr. Doyle. But we're in a position that we have to make hard decisions sometimes. And I really feel for the people that cannot afford this. And how do we explain to them, like Ms. Councilwoman Montiel said, how do we explain to them why we're raising the rates? But then again, how do we explain to them when there's a water break and there's a neighborhood without water for 4 or 5 days, and they have to go to Walmart or somewhere to buy water, portable water. And it's you know, I don't know how we're going to do it. You know, it might not be rate increases. It might be a loan from WIFA, but we do have to take care of this. And the people that elected us, they elected us to make those hard decisions, to make those decisions for them. Sometimes, you know, it's heartbreaking, but something's gotta be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Go ahead, Joe.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'm sorry, I didn't see you. I didn't see your question. I'm sorry. Thank you for saying that, certainly. This next person, I'll go quickly because this is something, again, among other things that we're working on, or at least our team is working on, or I'm working on, whatever we're doing this. It's regarding the streetlights, because all of our streetlights are still older streetlights, not LEDs. And also about our mechanical, that we have some of our systems that are 30, 35 years old, that they do not make parts for, including this building. And if you go up on top of this building, again, the neglect was there, because when I went up there to look at the mechanical, you look at the roof right above us, it's cracking, it's peeling, and it's everything to that effect. Who is responsible for the oversight? Again, those are the things that I'm just right up above us. 35 years, the roof hasn't been painted in I don't know how long. So it's a matter of time if we had a good storm where this would start leaking and then actually start falling in as well. So we're right above everything, or right below everything that is a picture of what we're trying to do, certainly. And with that said, this is a presentation on McKinstry, that the engineer that some of you have met before, Joe, he was here, and he's very into helping us, and he's actually done a lot for us. Granted, we have a contract with him, and we're doing another one later, but he's given us some insight. We worked with Juan. Juan, thank you for giving the streetlights all the inventory, and we're working with Franklin Energy. This is a presentation on what we would do if we get the GOTA loan, that is through the governor's office. Mr. Mayor, I think I sent you the link because you got that link, Mr. Mayor? Yes? It's from Katie, Miss Governor, or Governor Hobbs. She created this. It was in the past. She brought it back. The gentleman that is overseeing this area is also a graduate of Nogales High School, so 1986. So there we go. Nevertheless, it is possible that we might go this direction. Again, you guys would have to prove it. I got Michael on at least 50% right now. Maybe we can convince a little more, but nevertheless, you'll see what we're trying to do. I just talked about that, so it's pretty easy. Here's the project over. City Streets Light savings, and with rebates, we'd get about $132,000 if we change them all out. The savings would be about close to about $166,000 a year. The interior lighting would be about $9,000. The controls $1,000. Guaranteed we get about close around $172,000. This is just guesstimates. The payback with rebates, if we did everything with streetlights and the mechanical engineering, when I say mechanical engineering, the HVAC replacements, everything, would take us about 22 years. We would borrow out about $4 million, which would pay for costs of all the projects, including labor. You can't see that, but that's the building lights, old to new, T8 electronic bells. Right now, we're about 80% of the buildings have LED lighting. He said 20 years and older. Above us is, those of you that know R22, do they use R22 anymore? Juan? No, they don't.
Mr. Kramer,
That's what we're in right now, right?
on the lights and all that, are we,
This is the total for the whole projects now, because you just jumped.
I just jumped into, I'm just trying to get through. This is that's the project overview.
That's $4 million.
Yes, that's for everything. That's probably the one slide, and there's a couple more I'm going to
The
throw.
HVAC units are going to be replaced.
Yes, yes.
So
If we choose to go this direction, if we choose to just not, we'll just continue having this and,
well, the Freon's outdated.
Exactly. right.
There's no parts.
There's no parts being made.
We need.
are these considered just the city lights? Because we've got a mixture state,
Just the city lights, Mayor.
City,
Thank you,
okay.
yes. Right, nothing to do with the state as far as, because if you look at the state lights, what are they? There you go. Unisource, we would change out all the Unisource, but the state, the mayor's got a good point on that. If you look at it, you can see the difference. They're more energy efficient because they're LED. And didn't we have a program that we shut down a lot of streetlights for energy cost savings, right?
Yeah, well, I have a question.
And that's something that we're taking into consideration if we could bring back all the streetlights, because some neighborhoods, I know you have heard those phone calls, right? Hey, what happened? We have a streetlight here and it's not on. We're looking at that as well.
Mr.
ahead.
Kramer, I know that there's some lights here that belong to the county. Have you looked into that? Because there's some lights, and I'll give you an example on Trinidad Street. There's on one part where we're gonna put the new park, there's 2 lights facing outward and there's one inward into that. And I was told that the one facing inward into the property belonged to the county. So I know that for a fact, there's some poles that belong to the county. Have you looked into
We
that?
didn't, the specific light poles or whatever the county, I just took into consideration of the poles that we have. And what the mayor brought up about the streetlights with the state owns, we didn't take into consideration other than what we own. And I'll get into some of the, and also I didn't put the pickleball courts. Obviously, we want to get pickleball court lighting. That would cost us about $150,000. I forgot about that. And the controls would be like in this room, lights, and it would be everything to that effect. We walk into the room, the light turns on, you leave. They did that to all this, both school districts.
On the pickleballs, are you not thinking about putting the solar?
Well, the LED lights are cheaper. Putting in just the street light right now, and that was a question asked to me earlier. The solar lights are not as energy or they're not as cost savings as you think because they cost more to put in. So it's better to just run if we have electricity there just to put them up.
Would we replace the lights on the park on top at Flesher Park, the one the soccer field on top, because that has solar lighting and it's bad.
Right.
You can't use it. At
And
night.
we've talked about that as well. So.
So,
So I just want to clarify something. All these poles that belong to I guess Unisource, we had a contract with them that actually they paid for. Well, they charged the city for the lights and they kept all the lights on. In other words, there was a time when we had closed down, we had brought that we wanted all the lights on, and they were charging us, but yet they weren't replacing the lights when they burned out, or for some whatever reason there was like still about 25% of the lights, and I believe the police department back then would drive when they patrolled at night and see which lights were off and give a report to the city manager. They would take the little code from the yellow tag on the poles.
The cuckoos?
The cuckoo tag, and give that information so that your office would contact citizens utilities and let them know that these lights were off. And otherwise, if they were off, we would still get charged for it. They were charging by pole, not by lights on. That's not in place anymore?
We're looking at with Franklin Energy and Unisource. I met with Franklin Energy Group, who is kind of correspondence through, because I met at the TEP building. Mr. Doyle, we're looking at the whole inventory of whatever we have. I don't know why, and I know that some of the lights were shut off and some of them were but we're looking at the whole inventory, and what we're looking is changing all that out. And it's in one of my slides I'll foreshadow right now. We are also being charged for rental for the poles as well.
Okay.
And we are working and looking at that as saying, okay, where can we have some cost savings? Other cities in the Unisource family, TEP, whatever up north, there have been some cities that the utility company has given back the poles to that municipality, meaning we'll have to take care of it. Well, then if that's the case, we'll have to look at what the cost effectiveness is, whether or not we would take out, whatever insurance, because it's not always the pole. You get 1 or 2 poles a year, whatever. If there was an insurance there that covered it, then we would look at that. But that's something that it's in one of my slides as well, where it would double our savings on this effort to get all of our streetlights changed over and us taking ownership of those poles. So that way we wouldn't have this, hey, Unisource cut it off or whatever. We have all the streetlights on. all of the people that live in the streets that say, hey, how come it's so dark here? We don't have it there, they have it. Well, then everybody would have it. And we're taking in that consideration of having all these streetlights on if we switch it out. Again, granted, and changing the equipment, that's the $4 million GATA loan. And it can be up to, well, it can be up to 20 years, I believe, is the conversation. I asked Michael if he was in that conversation. He wasn't in that last one, but Mary Foote is the director of it. She just actually called me yesterday, said, hey, where are you at with this? Because if it happens, and I'm foreshadowing again, that means I'm going jumping ahead. But if we did get, if the council does approve this and we move in this direction, they can cut the check by November. So that's where it could be if we wanted to go this direction. I just wanted to give you what the direction, it is a safety issue. We were talking about this certainly with the police and Border Patrol a little bit. I know, Juan, we were going to do a feasibility study, but they're going to charge us $150. Well, McKinstry just did it for free, right? We got this, well, they didn't for free. We hired them to do on other things for us, but they added this in. This wasn't part of their contract. They just did it because they know the understanding of it. Granted, they'll oversee it again, because that's what we want to do, is having a company oversee it so we don't have the problems that we've had from past. That's the 53 pages of Juan's inventory. They've got it. They've gone through it. They've contacted Unisource to get some billing as well. And there's your analysis. Unisource billing analysis, 1 to 4 poles are billed from 1 meter. They analyzed 300, again, they didn't do everything, but they did a pretty good study of it. How much will we be charging a year? $471,000. Pole charges were on 40% of the bills, but again, 20% of the bills average $20, average is $17 a pole. Pole charges average about $127,000 a year. So if we didn't do the HVAC, the payout would be much quicker. But if we because there's not a lot of saving or rebate, that's why the extension is 20 years. If we did the streetlights, it would probably bring it down to 12, 13. You're the math guy,
Yes.
right?
Somewhere around there.
Right. I know my math somewhat. But these guys tell me to, so. Anyway. And that's a portion of light poles. That's a portion of what's wood, metal, fiberglass. I don't want to get too much into the details of it, because you're getting the understanding of what we're trying to do, right? But again, our engineer gentleman is very analytical, so he's given us all the facts. And I can certainly share this PowerPoint if you guys, I can make copies if you want. I will give you this. Again, this is talking about the overhead, underground. Overhead means power hung from the pole. Underground means the power to the light pole is fed from underground. There are some overhead and underground as well. He wants to do some mock-ups, meaning these are the areas that he wants to put in, change it out. They'll do it to see how it looks. The aesthetic, once he does that, I will let you know what it looks like so you can go over and look at it at night to see how it is and the difference. And they also stated that Unisource is supposed to be taken care of in the contract, taking care of the streetlights and the trees that are growing around the streetlights. So Mr. Doyle, is Unisource doing their due diligence?
Not all the time.
Right.
Yeah, not all the
There you go.
I have a bunch of complaints with.
Well, I'm not a Unisource rep, but anyway, you know who the Unisource rep is. You can contact them. All right, here's your financial metrics, your rebates, your total. Estimated, this is again your savings.
May I jump up?
Yes, jump up on this.
Okay, so I just want to point out one thing on here. So this is for your street lights, total project of about 1.7 million, and your annual savings is about 160 grand. So this, over a period of a little bit more than 10 years, would pay for itself from the savings.
Would
And
Michael,
if that's just with the streetlights, if we could get the poles, it could even be less.
because we're going to have all this cost of savings down the line, it means, Mr. Kramer, that because we pay our electric from HERF money, it's going to open up, we're going to save that money, we're going to be able to pave more roads. Am I correct?
If that savings is there, certainly. Certainly would. Again, if we can get that poll, now I'm gonna have to play politics. Maybe I'll let the politicians take care of the polls. But if we can get the polls, that would cut that in half. Granted, we would have to take some sort of insurance, like I said, that if we have a mishap with a pole, that insurance will cover for it, so then we can get it fixed.
Mr. Kramer, a couple of the goals in the past for the city have been always safety issue. Lighting, of course, plays a big role, but also beautification of the city, which attracts more people to our community. And I think this would really be a step in the right direction. So thank you for what you're doing.
Certainly, LED is much cleaner light too. And it cuts down on your light pollution, they say. We're not going to get dark skies because we'll never get dark skies. Thanks to our neighbors to the south, they don't help us with dark skies. That light carries all the way into Rio Rico, if you be honest with you. So we'll never get the dark skies, but at least it'll cut down because it will actually focus on good areas rather than spread out with very little light. It'll be more focused. And if we can get all the street lights on, just imagine the neighbors that's saying, yay, finally, we got some lighting over here. And it cuts down for our first responders as well. It does help. It does, when you get lit areas, it decreases that all bad things happen after 10 o'clock at night thing. The 15 years where, again, we were looking at that would probably be our choice. That would be the 15-year takeout. And even McKinstry said they would work on for their own polls, but I said we got politicians that could certainly help in that as well. Again, the subcontractors, again, this would be everything again, done the way it should be, having a company actually oversee what we're trying to do. That's it.
One last thing I'd like to add. So Mr. Kramer had mentioned that the city, if they decide to do this financing, would be taking it through GATA, Greater Arizona Development Authority. I don't know necessarily right now that that's the recommendation. GATA, it has a cheaper borrowing rate than the city could get on its own, and they would cover 50% of your professionals' costs, like me. So that sounds like a great idea, right? So you're like, well, Michael, why wouldn't we use them? Here's the thing. The city used to issue its debt from the MDA, the Municipal Development Authority, and all of that debt was secured by excise taxes. And you've used that debt to pay for many different kinds of public infrastructure and even funded your pension unfunded liability or a portion of it from there. So when we did the pension obligation bonds, we put an end to the first lien, which was the MDA, and we created another lien, a second lien, which is where all of your future debt was going to be issued from, and it's called an obligation as opposed to a bond. Why is that important now? Well, if you were to use GATA, we would have to create a third lien for the city. And if you were ever going to do refinancings, you have a couple that aren't in the money right now, you wouldn't be able to use GATA for that. So you would now then have to create another lien on top of that. And that just kind of looks funky and could hurt you in your future financings. So I'm just letting you know right now that GATA, while it has a lot of great things, it may or may not be the appropriate financing vehicle for this. Just putting that out there. Am I good?
Yeah, no, I just want to make sure we put that out there too as well. It is like I said in the beginning, it's a 50-50 as far as the financing. The project itself is a great project, and Michael would even say that as well. It certainly is important. It certainly hits all the aspects that we need for lighting in the city, for cost savings down the road, down the future. So the payoff, again, is that if we just do lighting, it would be just that 1.4. That savings would be obviously cut down in half. But the units above here and other places, we have to get those eventually replaced. Well, they just like everything else, the infrastructure. And 35 years for a heating and cooling unit, we're very grateful that they made good things back then, I guess, but we wouldn't be able to find parts. So again, it's a decision you have to look at to what or not we want to do this. We have time. We have maybe till October to decide, I guess, if we want to try to get this, because the next funding source then is next June, if that's what we want to wait. So I'm not pushing you into any corner. I'm not trying to do that. I'm not trying to say this, do it now. I just want to, again, provide you with the information. You as a council can decide.
Mr. Vasquez, would you be able to give us a scenario, with the GATA, without the GATA, with the third lien, with the fourth lien, what would be the scenarios in writing so we could look at it and help us make a decision?
I can put a presentation together. The numbers, are going to be
Obviously, it's not fixed numbers, I know, but
estimates.
estimates, yeah.
Yes,
So,
sir. I'm happy to do
help us, look at the scenarios.
Yes, Mayor.
Thank you. Next, we can go to the septic dumping station review and discussion of site consideration of operational proposal for a septic dumping station.
Yes, I brought this back. This was a discussion item. And I said I would do my homework and bring back information. I believe I handed you the handouts yesterday. The first 2 pages were from what I gathered from when I worked at Pima County. Max Decente is the manager, and Jeff or John, I should remember his name, but nevertheless, he provided me with Pima County's. It was 15 pages. I condensed it to the 2 pages. In other words, people get handed those P cards that want to dump. It's 24/7. They go through it. They're able to dump. They're able to dump whatever they supposedly they shouldn't. They do, he said, because that plant is a $150 million plant that Pima County put in there, and they've spent a lot of money. They don't have any problems as of right now, and they charge 14 cents a gallon. That's Pima County's protocol of what it's on Walker Road. It's right south of Ina. So that's the Pima County process that I got. From there, I will bring forward I put in what ADEQ, the mayor was in that, Mr. Estes was in that.
Can you give me, Mr. Vasquez, you leave it?
Sorry, Michael.
I want to thank you, and thank you for the presentation, and also, Ms. Burnett, thank you for the presentation and taking your time to come down. I just want to thank you for doing what you did and giving us a heads up on what we're looking at. So I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor. It's a privilege, and thanks for allowing me to come back. And I'm happy I made it out without a rope on this.
He was trying to be discreet. That's why I didn't even see him. Michael, thank you again, and I'm sure we'll stay in touch. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, for pointing that out. Need this. I've also included the ADEQ requirements that are going to be for the septic dumping. I included the company that will do the sample testing that we will have to do. Each load will probably be, if there is a situation, I talked to John yesterday. He's in a meeting. He said he can't make it. He would like to have come attended. But he said that if there's ever a situation that it goes off, we would have the samples. What we would have to do is the samples, we would have to take every dump, keep it as a sample. If the alarm or something goes off, they would know approximately when that came through. So then we would take that sample. The samples are good up to a week in a refrigerator. We'd have to buy a refrigerator, hold the bottles and make sure we're recording it properly, putting on labels properly, and then storing it. The company said you should at least bring it up once a week. But if we start bringing them up once a week, they're going to have to do the testing, which then incurs, and I think the fee was on there was up to $450 each load,
Each sample, right?
each dump, whatever dump, test. Yeah, testing of the dump, or whatever comes through.
475.
Yeah, 475.
Go ahead, Mr. Doyle.
My question is, each time they dump, you have to hold a sample for a week?
Yes,
So how many refrigerators are you going to buy?
exactly.
Well, okay, then the next question. Are we going to have to hire another employee to keep track of everything and send them to the lab whenever they have to do the, yeah, I mean, there's going to be.
There's going to be
work.
cost to it, oh, for sure, yes. There's going to be cost to this, and this would constitute a full-time position. So the person that we have in that right now is also doing other other areas of his job that is not just sample testing and overseeing that. This would be almost a full-time job.
So my other last question for this, is the city obligated to provide that service?
Okay, that's a good question, Mr. Doyle. I will say this, that again, I think I gave you June's reports, right? And then I gave you what the dump ratio was from Nogales as opposed to Rio Rico, correct? Is the city obligated? That was the question of the day. And that's the question that we, with ADEQ and everything to that effect is, again, it's a service we're providing to agencies that are the majority, a vast amount of majority, right? What was the count from June? 92%? If I remember my numbers correctly, that are outside the city. So do we have to, there's no requirement by ADEQ. They're just saying this is what the permit is. This is what you got to follow. Here's the requirements of what IWC said, and I put those in the requirements. That was the meeting that certainly was attended in person by the mayor and Mr. Estes. I attended telephonically or Teams. So are we required, Mr. Doyle? There's no state requirement that we have to have that. And thank you to Mr. Bonilla. He brought forward information because initially, and the mayor was saying that he had met with the county officials. Mr. Bonilla said the same thing. I had stated at that time that they didn't have any interest. I was told on a phone call by county manager, and he can correct me if I'm wrong, but he did state to me, and I think so, although I told him right there, because that's when I was talking to him, that they would be willing to open up the landfill to allow the septic dumping to transpire there. That's the county. If they choose to do so, that's their right to choose to do so, to open it up for them.
Can I have a question? To start off with, I think the state would allow that to dump thousands of gallons of raw sewage out in the open like that. It's a health issue and health concern. But anyway, what I heard was if they could not dump the septic tanks, but dump those small portable porta potties, which is a lot different. They have like 15 gallons or whatever. I don't know, 25, 30 gallons, whatever it is. I don't know. But they would allow that, and that could be buried. But that way you probably get, maybe 100 or so a day gallons which they could bury and cover up and whatnot, move around. But when you're talking about thousands of gallons, think about it. Doesn't make sense, does it?
No, that's why I was like, okay, but that's not my place to say.
And one of the things that Mr. Kramer and I discussed about those documents that I shared with Mr. Kramer is that they were from documents from 2012. Am I correct, Mr. Kramer?
20, yeah,
Around there?
certainly 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah. So we don't know for a fact if these documents are still, or if ADAQ has really permits that, like you're raising that question. We don't know that. It's an alternative, and that's one that county manager and other county officials we discuss on that. Them opening up their facilities for the sewage, so they can dump their sewage. But again, the county's going in a different direction with their landfill also. I think that's going to I'm not going to discuss it today, but they are going in a different direction with their landfill. And so we're going to probably be discussing it later on in another council meeting, but it's something to look at, Mr. Doyle. I said from the beginning that once Mr. Kramer did his due diligence, that was it going to be viable for these companies to really continue doing business with us. You gave us some numbers, Mr. Kramer, on how much money we got in, but how much money did we spend? That's I think an important question. So
Well, right now, we're paying for the employee, but we're going to have to add some cost to this now with the testing, because with ADEQ, they knew we were going to have this meeting, correct, Mayor?
Correct.
Yes. So we're going to have to create the situation once with the testing and the samples. We're going to have to start taking samples. And finally, Mr. Estes brought up, and it is still a part of the city charter, correct? Ordinance code, thank you, that we're not going to allow the porta potties to be dumped because it is still part of your code. And we've been allowing that. So that's that, unless,
Why would the porta potties not be allowed?
city code.
But IBWC and ADQ said they had no issue with it.
If they were using proper,
Yeah,
They switched to their chemicals, but that would require a city code change as well.
Mr.
You can always change the city code, but that would require a city code change. That's an ordinance that is then subject to referendum, all kinds of different other issues and requirements. But currently, the city code doesn't allow for it. So it would, moving forward to be able to do it, even with the change in chemical, the way the city code is read, we would have to do a code change.
go ahead, Doug.
My concern has been that the liability, not only the responsibility, but the liability that of future lawsuits because maybe they find chemicals in the system or cadmium, nickel, or whatever it is that sometimes comes down from the Mexican side and ends up over there. In the past, they've sometimes tried to blame the city of Nogales for that contamination. And so why are we going to have to address that issue with attorneys and everything else when we don't have to?
it's a good question, Mr. Doyle, and I brought that up yet, and I spoke with John, because who's saying that with the flow coming from Mexico, right, hitting the plant the same times as one of the septic dumps hits the plant, and that chemical is what you just said? Is it ours or is it theirs? And who's going to make that determination?
It's going to cost us.
Right. Exactly. And I'm not throwing at Mr. Light, because he's been nothing but very professional and very engaging, and we've had some very good conversations. And he agreed too, is that this could be a situation that could put the city maybe in what you just stated. I think you've gone through this before, correct?
Well, he's got to take care of his end.
No, but I mean, has the city had some concerns before in the past with ADEQ?
We've had our differences in the past, but I mean, Mr. Light's a good man, but
Right.
but he's got to take care of his end, and I can see that. And we got to take care of our end.
Right, but why do we put ourselves in that risk?
Right. That was the point that I wanted to make. Why are we going to take that responsibility and that liability when everything is against us, including the fact that when they do have to take those lab tests, that they run almost 4 times more than what the city is collecting from the septic haulers, and that's not good business.
No,
But more important is the risk and the liability of getting a lawsuit.
if we continue doing as is, we're going to have to take the sampling. We're going to have to buy refrigerators, if anything, we're going to have to look at least raising the rates from 10 cents to 14 cents to cover those initial costs to pay for that new refrigeration, sampling. And then we also got to look at sending somebody up to Tucson, drive it, gas, everything to that effect.
Another career employee.
Right. So we're going to have to look at that as well. And it's going to be, if it's once a week, it's another 3 hours and then whatever mileage again. So if anything, and if we continue as is, we can do that. I can certainly get the sample. We can start moving in that direction. But at this time, if we bring it back for council discussion and action item, it'd be at least the minimum. My recommendation is at least for now, moving that 10 cents to 14 cents, at least cover these initial costs. Now, however direction you guys want to go as far as, do we want to continue doing this? That's up to you. But if we're going to continue doing it, we're going to at least at minimum need to raise those rates to cover the cost of this sampling and testing.
I have a suggestion, Mayor, or if that's okay, go up to, I think it's okay to go up to 14 cents. But while we do that, why don't we, Mr. Kramer, if you can set up a meeting with the county and see if they're truly open to them receiving all this sewer water, just to make sure as an additional option before we move forward. I think the 14 cents is fine for now. But if we can have a meeting with county officials and sort of get some clarification, or we don't have to be there as long as you have it with them.
If I get something in writing, I'll share with you.
Okay.
As council.
And the other thing we had talked about the septic, Mr. Kramer, is whenever we come up with that issue, that boom, that load that, let's say we have 4 or 5 different septic disposers, that whenever X load came about and it was, X person, that we would do a contract with them, and in phasing that, if your loads get tagged or red tagged, that they would be responsible for the lab tests.
For the $475.
Yes, sir.
Yes, we could do that. It would just, again, constitute giving this person almost full time then, because this person's going to have to do that. If we're going to start drawing up contracts with the load that hits and sets the alarm off, I'll just use that kind of terminology. I know there's a different term for what Mr. Light said, but yes, I mean, we're going to have to do that. But then again, Mr. Doyle's bringing up the situation of the timing of it. Is it going to be was it the person that did the load when it hit there? Or is it going to be from the pipeline hitting it at the same time? Whose was it?
That's the liability part.
Right.
But the cost itself, 14 cents on a load of 1,000 gallons, we're only getting $100 right now. You put it up to 14 cents, we're going to get 140, but yet the costs are going to be greater than even if you collect $140. You probably have to kind of get an even. You'd have to charge 20 cents a gallon. Well, the thing is, and then whenever we have to send the samples up, that really increases the thing to 475 cents a lab test.
You're right, Mr. Doyle.
$475. I mean,
Correct, because Pima County has that 14 cents, but they're not doing any testing.
because they don't have the IBWC to deal with.
Exactly, it's their own.
Yeah,
And
they
they
have the Mexican raw sewage going into their system.
Right. So you're all very good points. I agree. It maybe have to be more.
We're in an unusual or unique circumstance,
Right.
compared to other places. So it's cheaper for the septic haulers to take it to Tucson and dump over there, because eventually we're going to have to charge them a lot more here.
Right.
My next question: when do we have to comply to these new rules?
Very soon.
Well, we have to address this issue very soon.
They want our position with regard to the permit requirement. And I think the main issue right now, we're going to have to meet all of the permit requirements. One of the permit requirements is going to be testing. The question is whether or not we test every load or if we store and test if an alarm goes off. The issue with storing and testing is if you have 3 or 4 different companies that come and dump in the same day and you get a hot load or alarm goes off, we're going to have to do 4 tests at $475. So each one of those companies is going to have to pay to have their load tested. Then we're going to have to try to collect for that, because this is all going to be after the fact. If we're storing and testing, assuming there's a hot load, that could be an issue that only comes up once every few months, once a year. We don't know. But again, those are just things that we're going to have to figure out. But we do need to get an answer to them ASAP as to what the city is going to do with regard to this station. Are we going to test every load? Are we going to store and test? What are we going to do? Because that is going to be a requirement. Is the testing is going to be a requirement of the permit because of the potential issues and issues that they've had.
But aside from that, Mr. Estes, we're still not covering the actual cost of getting another employee, buying new refrigerators. And then when everything collapses, say that down the road, the septic haulers figure, oh, wait, we're spending more money here than if we go and dump to Tucson. And then we're left with everything with another career employee and refrigerators that we don't need anymore because we are not getting those people coming and dumping here because it's not feasible for them. I mean, why are we creating this negative scenario for everyone?
I'm not disagreeing.
Okay, just asking.
I agree with you in that sense. We would have to create another position. We'd buy refrigeration units. We'd buy all the vials or whatever they're using, glass containers. We're going to have to purchase all that. We're going to have to get it. It's going to be almost a little lab. Where are we going to put that little lab?
I thought we were going to try to fix the streets and the infrastructure.
I'm not trying to mix an apple and oranges here. I'm just
In
trying
the
to.
quote you got, Mr. Kramer, the laboratory will provide all coolers, bottles, tripe blanks, and paperwork needed for the project.
Clear 4705.
That would be covered in the 475.
So that we would put those costs on too, but you still have to buy
I thought
refrigerators.
the 475 was for the lab.
That'd be the whole cost. But still, we would have to do the collection though, as Mr. Estes pointed out, we would have to go back and try to collect then from the people that dump. So that's going to be a penalty.
It's going to be a trickling effect going back to the customer. That's going to be handled by, we give it to the septic and they give it to the customer.
It's something that, again, this is discussion. I'm trying to bring again all the information back to you as a council. You can bring it back as an agenda item and decide how you want to go with this. But it is important that we need an answer sooner than later, because again, we have a council meeting next week, and then after that it's September. I don't know if ADEQ will let us go till September to have an answer back to them.
Mr. Kramer, but the county has advised you, it's not in writing, but it's advised you that they're willing to take it. So, good for them, right?
Right.
And
Okay.
it's basically the porta potties, right? That's what I heard.
Again, I'll get it in writing. I'll get it specific,
Yeah. Yep.
exactly what it is.
Well-
But it'd be my suggestion is that we bring this back to council for next week so we can get an answer and resolution. I'll do my homework and try to get that answer that apparently we need from the county.
How quick will that be? In other words, can we put it on the agenda for the next?
My suggestion is to get it on for next Wednesday because we have to
We'll have all that information?
So I'll bring whatever I get from the county. Yes, that's the better, right?
Okay.
The rest of it you have in front of you.
Yeah.
You know what it is. Mr. Dole, you brought some very good points. We have to look at it as it is. We'll be a career employee. We'll have to buy refrigeration units. We'll have to look at transportation. We'll have to look at sending somebody back and forth, everything to that effect. So I will bring that information back, what I can get from the county. In writing, I'll get you copies.
Thank you.
Okay?
Remember that? We move to item 5, discussion and action. Discussion and possible action, review and proposal primary drawing of city facilities design contract. Discussion and possible action to review and consider the McKinstry proposal, preliminary McKinstry draw, DPA architect proposal, LSW engineering proposal, and KS hazard materials testing proposal, all related to the proposal design contract for city facilities. Mr. Kramer.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for I chatted with our gentleman in the back. This is for the 911 center to move forward with that. We already have that funded. You as a council voted in January to support the 1.2 million that the city contributed to match the funding for the 1.2 million of the grant. This is to start moving forward in that direction to start. They did a walk around. They've got the designs. You've got the designs. Those are rough designs. Obviously, this is to get into going to get the architectural group going, getting to where they want, what the colors, whatever else, the designs, everything to that effect. That will be encompassing 3/4 of the building. The back of the building will be not part of the 911 center, will be created as a warehouse. It won't infringe upon the 911 center. We do need that because we need, as we've all said this today, it's another component of what we want to do to keep our expenditures in a good way. So I'm going to create a warehouse over there. So we have an asset control, much like everyone else does in the municipalities, school districts, everything. We'll start tagging everything that comes into this city and going back out to everything, be it from computers to tables to chairs to everything that is purchased from this point forward. We are going to run a warehouse the way it should be, so we know exactly what we're spending on. If the gentlemen are buying shirts or Parks and Recs is buying shirts, they will go to that warehouse, make sure it matches up with the purchase order. They'll check that off. They will then deliver it to the departments. Here's all your shirts from whatever vendor has purchased it. We need to get that going, and that's going to be part of the process of getting this city moving in the right direction to be accountable for every expenditure we're doing. And certainly that is a reasonable way to manage what we're doing. 911 center will not be imposed because they'll have good doors, solid doors. It's going to be encompassed. They're going to probably look at bringing in solar lights to give them that, but that will not be infringed upon anybody from this city. It'll be just city employees in there, but they will not be able to access 911 center. We've already made sure of that. We did visit the 911 center. I know that the chief went over there a few weeks ago prior or whatever. Met Mary Jo. She is in charge of the Sierra Vista one. So she showed us around. They have windows around theirs, and other city employees or county employees aren't, but they can't get into the 911 center. They don't hear what's going on. It would be the same thing. If there are visitors going in there, it's up to them to hold that as a log. You have to sign in. But the perimeter of the 911 center, nobody's going to be able to hear. No one will be able to see what's going on in that nerve center other than their people. So that's the plans with what McKinstry, they already did a walk around. So we're moving in that direction. So this is the get to going, just as we did with the administration building. I just talked to them. The abatement is not going to be so high, but abatement is the asbestos in that building, much like they're doing over here. It'll be, I think it's about 85,000, so I won't bring that to you guys. We are going to move in that direction. Once he gets done with that, it's going to take them probably, I don't know, up to 3 weeks, 2 weeks possibly, to get that building cleaned out as well, since it was built, I believe, in the, 60s, 50s? Something like that, Mr. Doyle, when you were born somewhere?
Actually, it was, I think closer to late 60s.
Right. So there is asbestos. They already did the testing. So with that said, they'll be overseeing this project. This is giving the same thing we did with the administration building, and that's what you're here to approve of that.
Mr. Joe, are these, I know the 911 and all that, they were working on through a grant, and all, I know they were already scheduled items or scheduled things for that building. Are we infringing or have stopped any work on those? on the 911, because, you know, there's a time limit of that grant being used up on time.
Are we infringing upon the Nogales Police Department to build?
To continue what they were doing on that building.
I thought we were moving in the direction for the city of Nogales to oversee the buildings, not departments.
But that, council,
But to answer your question on further than that, there is no infringement because it's not, they have to order their equipment by next June. The city of Nogales contributed 1.2 million as well. So there's no infringement, but if you want to give the responsibility back to a department, is that what you're asking?
well, we had already approved that they were working on the building.
When was that?
When they got the grant. Yes. I don't know if,
Was I here?
no. Well, that's why,
The council approved of this?
yes. Remember? When did we get the grant?
This was a council agenda item?
Yes, sir. When did we get the grant, Mr. Jimenez? Go ahead, sir. Turn on the mic.
Right.
Mayor, if I may. To answer your question, Mayor and Council and staff and audience, this is about, I don't have an exact date for when we were awarded the grant, but it was presented to Council shortly after, and this is the first initial DEMA grant for about 11 million. There was an additional grant that Mr. Kramer is referring to that we discussed the early part of this year, what was a matching grant for 102 million, if I'm not mistaken, 1.2?
2.4.
1.4, and the city matched that to make it a
1.2 to 1.2, yes.
correct. I can get those dates for you at a later time, but it's
And
great. It's
They
been
did go through council and approved, right?
the first initial DEMA grant, correct, and also the one that Mr. Kramer mentioned for the matching grant.
But the approval of the grant is the approval.
We approved the grant, but
Right.
we never, what I think is the confusion is that we discussed the whole scope of work at the Armory. We never made a decision or anything on it because at that point, from what I remember, we did not have any actual proof that it has been legally handed over to the city of Nogales. But yes, we did approve those grants that Chief Jimenez is referring to, but we never approved any work or anything on the Armory because at those dates that Chief has given, we did not have actual proof or legal proof that their Armory belonged to us. That's why we never really moved forward or anything, but we did it to what you are saying, Mayor. We did approve that in the council meeting, but we did not move forward as far as how we were going to use the Armory because at that point we didn't have any paperwork, anything that's saying that it belongs to the city of Nogales.
It had always belonged to the city and was given back by the Armory, right?
I understand
It
that.
was
Yes.
returned,
I'm sorry, what was the question?
it was stopped use by the Army and then it was returned to the city, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Last April. There's paperwork that's, the state gave it back to the city of Nogales.
Right. But the normal process would be for the council to approve the acceptance of the grant, and then after that, then the process is to bring back the construction contracts for the actual work for approval by council. So just the approval of the grant is to move forward, and then the process is that once contracts are put in place after proper procurement processes, then those contracts are approved by council.
And this is the direction that you gave me to, as we were just talking earlier, as Mr. Doyle, you were alluding to, is you do not want any more expenditures. The oversight will be done by council. I'm bringing it back to you, knowing that this company is going to be overseeing the construction, just like every other project.
And that's also what's provided for in the code, that any expenditures over $100,000 come to council for approval.
Chief Jimenez, is anything being, what's the word used, encroached on what you want to do at the Armory?
Well, what we initially started when the grant was awarded and approved was at that time, we had a different city administration in that office. So we were tasked with finding a location, since we didn't have a pinpoint location for our future PSOC center, which is the 911 center Mr. Kramer is referring to. So we were tasked to find a location that was feasible and also a city property, because we didn't have any funds for brick and mortar included in this grant that gave us the opportunity to purchase land and build a new building. So it was presented to us that the Armory was an option. We did a walkthrough and we were granted permission basically at that time by that administration to move forward there. And with the steps we took is we did a walkthrough of the site and see what we can do to improve it. First, initially, the outside infrastructure when it comes to the security. And that's the steps we did take initially. We made a better improvement on the fencing, privatized it a little bit. Then our next few steps, we're going to be improving the interior of the structure, which included an HVAC system and some improvement on the windows so they can be more feasible for people to be able to work in there. But that's at the same time that we had discussion, me and Mr. Kramer were talking about bringing on this company, McKinstry, that he's referring to, and seeing that they have the oversight and also follow the lead of what's being directed by council to have oversight by a project manager, I guess you can call it. So we put a pause on that to make sure that we weren't taking any steps that weren't approved by council.
Would,
Go ahead, Mr. Doe.
yeah, Mr. Doyle has a question.
Chief, are all communications moving out there or just the 911 center?
And when you mean our police department or like for the county or
Oh, so the building's going to house both county and city, or?
Well, initially, it's the plans are for just police department communications that will service police and fire for the city. But the long-term goal is to possibly make it a regional communication center, which could bring on board other public safety agencies, which includes fire districts. What it initially will do will improve the all communication for all state, federal, local, county agencies, so we have that communication ability that we don't have currently right now. But to answer your question, it's initially going to be police and fire with the future options to bring on board other public safety.
And the reason, the interest to that question is that is Western Avenue not considered a flood zone area?
I know that was considered to a concern initially, but I guess the new floodplain, I guess maps have been looked at, do not have that restriction when it comes to building that PSOC center.
It will actually be elevated a bit. The actual, when they build the 911 center, we're going to elevate it a bit. So it'll be to alleviate that.
Okay, so it'll be.
Not so much the warehouse, but the warehouse when you get in the back. But the 911 center itself, the engineers already looked at raising it to up to 2 or 3 feet or 2 feet. So it'll be higher up off that flood.
So that way it'll meet their.
Exactly. Yeah, their engineers already looked at that.
Okay,
And
thank
if you look at the Armory, it's already raised to begin with a few feet. You have to step up to it. But like Mr. Kramer said, it's going to be a pod with inside the actual building itself that's going to be raised up. And for obvious reasons, we have to have some type of wiring that goes in underneath into the center and also overhead. So we can't break the concrete to bring that wire in. So it's going to be a raised pod in there, the best way of explaining it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good answer, yes, because that's what the other thing for the pod is to bring everything from wiring up.
Right. Okay. As long as we follow regulations. Thank you. Thank you.
So, what you guys were doing, has it been disturbed or has it been stopped?
Like I mentioned earlier, Mr. Kramer, we had that discussion of bringing on, I guess you could call him a project manager company. I'm not sure what the term is. So, we were taking steps moving forward on the initial direction that we received. But at that point, we were told to pause that and to make sure that we were meeting the requirements that were basically given direction by council to make sure that oversight was being done.
And are we within time of any issues with?
I mean, that's a hard question to answer at this point, Mayor, because I know that we did take a pause during the last few months, making sure that we brought all of our, we basically had all information we needed to make sure that McKinstry was going to be coming on board. So I could say that I know a lot of the the grant itself, the exterior part that's being done at the sites where our communication towers are at, that's if not 100% done, it's very close. Now what we're focusing on actually the building, and all the focus is actually going to be there as soon as we get the green light to move forward. So there was a pause for some time, but now if like Mr. Kramer said, if we have this company McKinstry come on board, I know that it'll start rolling again, and everything will get to the point we need it to be.
And also, Mayor, that the abatement is necessary. So if we did any work anymore in there, you're putting people at risk. So this pause was also because that building has to be abated, as I stated earlier, from asbestos. Even if you drill into the wall, you do any movement into there, you're now disrupting asbestos. Thus, the protection for the city, as the council had said, you want oversight, this is what's going to happen. You keep asking about a pause, you're acting like I'm interjecting. I'm trying to help the city, I'm trying to help the police department, make sure we follow the correct protocols so we don't have any concerns with the disruption of that asbestos. So the timeline is for them to get their stuff ordered by next June. These guys hope to have that because it's not too much to do. McKinstry hopes to have that done by February, March at the latest. So they should be right on track of it. And they'll give monthly updates again, like they're going to start doing once they start over there. They're going to be right here standing in front of the podium, so you'll hear everything that's going on. But again, I'm trying to follow the procurement. I'm trying to protect these guys from getting in there of doing anything with that, especially that asbestos. That concerned me. That's why I said stop.
Okay. Okay, it's good.
Yeah, and the only thing I could add is if we do get to a timeline crunch, there's always that option for extending the grants. I mean, it's not something we want to do, but if we do come to that point, we can do that. And, it's something that's understandable if we do have to do that.
Okay. Thank you, sir. That's it. Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
Still in discussion.
Say.
Okay, I just have three questions. McKinstry, are they part of the state contractor? Because I noticed that we didn't go out to bid.
Yes, they're on a cooperative purchase contract.
So
So it's already been bid.
okay, so we're not required to go out to bid, right?
Right.
And the other one is we have a 1-year warranty with them as far as the agreement for the work and for the labor and the materials and all that. It's a 1 year.
Sometimes, you're with them, it says 1 year, but you've got also the power of the register of contractors,
Okay.
which gives you 2 years.
And are they subcontracting the other contractor that's going to do the asbestos abatement?
Yeah, the company that right now is doing the asbestos abatement, he's going to switch over and do over the asbestos abatement for that building as well.
Okay.
And he's under a state contract as well.
And then on the page 28 of the packet, and there's an agreement. And on page 6, there's two things that I noticed that I don't understand. There's one that says 17 Israel. It says applicable, the parties hereby certify they are not currently engaged in and agree for the duration of this agreement to not engage in a boycott of goods or services from Israel. And is that
That's a state contract. That's a state requirement. It's a statutory requirement to be in all of our contracts. The the contractor or whoever we're entering into a contract cannot be engaged in a boycott of Israel. And there's also another provision in there that you cannot purchase materials that have been sourced through the forced labor of Uyghurs. Those are both state statutory requirements that have to be in contracts.
Is that the one, the forced labor of ethnics?
The forced labor of ethnic Uyghurs. Yeah.
Okay, that was just my question.
Yeah, those are standard provisions that are required, just like one of the other standard provisions. So there's typically 3 standard provisions that are required by state law. The boycott of Israel, depending on the amount of the contract, the forced labor of ethnic Uyghurs, and then also a requirement that they have to follow the federal guidelines with regard to employment, that they have to make sure that all their employees are authorized to work in the United States.
Yes, yeah, well, I noticed they have an E-Verify requirement.
Right.
But then you go down the line, the 2 paragraphs down, they come down to the forced labor ethnic, I can't pronounce that name.
Uyghurs.
Uyghurs?
Yes, Uyghurs.
And that
That's a state
applies to
statute.
people of the Republic of China.
Yes, that's a statutory requirement that the state legislature put in a couple years ago. So like I said, the 3 basic statutory requirements that the state legislature require for contracts are the E-Verify, the boycott of Israel, and the forced labor of Uyghurs.
All right, thank you.
Very good question, Vice Mayor. And that's why we use companies like this. So we are continually following state law to ensure that we're not put in a position of any potential liabilities.
Do we need action on this approval, right? Okay, so do I have a motion to approve the proposal? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Thank you. Move to resolution. Consideration possible action of resolution R 2025-07-001, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Nogales, Arizona, designating the chief fiscal officer to officially submit the fiscal year 2026 expenditure limitation report to the Arizona Auditors General.
So move, Mayor.
Any discussion? So, all in favor? All opposed? Motion passes. Before I adjourn, Mr. Kramer, you have something?
Yes, one more thing. I know you love these study sessions, but we will have another study session in September. We do have to, and I chatted with a few of you, we are going to get our hands wrapped around our in-kind and certainly facility management processes, and we will bring forward, and I'll bring forward more information regarding that. I talked to a few of you, what I'm looking at cities-wide, other cities. I'll tell you this, I met the Fountain Hills city manager or town manager, whatever her title is. She's in the same situation. She talked about in-kind, the same thing. So with that said, we will come up, have a study session so we can have a win-win situation. And I understand the parameters, but we also have to look at the legal matters that Mr. Estes had brought forward as well. So we'll get both of those put into place with a study session. So it's good for everybody. So that's the plan on that. I'll look at maybe after the September council meeting, we'll try to come up with a day, but I just wanted to give a heads up where we're at with that. As of right now, we'll just continue going as is, as best we can with the in-kind until we get something solid with everybody agreeing. Thank you, Mayor.
And before, I will not be physically present on the August 6th. I will be zooming in. Mr. Vice Mayor will take care of the meeting, and but I'll be on by Zoom. All right. I'll be 2 hours ahead of you. All right. So with that said, move to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
All in favor? All opposed?